GST push that has been coming for the auto space from across the categories, and especially for the small cars. If we see, then from 28%, the overall tax has been slashed to 18%, while for the higher SUVs as well, wherein Hyundai Motors too have some of their top-selling models in that price category too, wherein including the cess, the tax used to go as high as 50%. That now stands at 40%. The biggest worry of late is actually what will happen to the compensation cess, but that's more with respect to the dealers aspect, because with respect to the excitement regarding the festive season, there is indeed something that the dealers are waiting out for clarity. But I believe Tarun is back with us. And Tarun, thank you so much for your time and good speaking with you. And let's talk about the real excitement in place. GST cuts, they are live now. You too have announced the price cuts. Help us understand the demand sentiment right now and how big this festive season could be. What sort of a incremental volume growth are you expecting?
Thank you, Shrishti, for having me here. And at the outset, I'd like to really thank the Honorable Prime Minister for ushering in this huge GST reforms. I believe they will give a big impetus to the Indian economy, and especially talking about car industry. If you see last 20 years, never before this kind of a GST cut has happened. I've seen 4%, 6% cuts happening, but now 10%, in fact 10 to 13% for small cars, and even in the big cars, 3 to 10%. So it's a huge cut. You talked about the growth expectations. It is always very difficult to predict. But if you see last few months, April to August, were kind of very muted for the domestic market. Industry has been at -2%, but the CAGR, if you see the 5 years, has been at about 4.5% to 5%. So I believe with this impetus provided by the GST cut, will be back to the 5% thing. So the swing, if you see, from -2 to 5 will be about 7%. So like I said, these are only my initial estimates. The bookings have really gone up. Last few days, we were the first company to announce full passing of the GST cut benefit to the customers. So the showroom traffic has increased. Of course, the 22nd September will usher in the Navratra season, which is very auspicious and very good for most of the country, and then followed by the Dhanteras and Diwali as well, and then the marriage season kicks in. So I think we are really expecting some very good demand coming in from 22nd September onwards.
Well, indeed, everybody is excited to for that to happen, and from the consumer front as well. But let's talk about some of the new launches that are lined up. We already know that you have 26 models lined up till FY30, with 8 due in the next 2 quarters, I believe. How many launches can we see happening? Which segment will get priority? Give us some sense.
So Shrishti, I think the new launches always get that kind of excitement, but at the same time, I think sometimes we need to wait for the right time. So my request is please wait. But what is important is that the Pune plant kicks in from Q3 of financial 25-26, which is just starting in October. So just about right time. If you see our capacity, current capacity is 824,000, and the 170,000 of Pune plant will make it about 994,000. And of course, we have married our new product cycle to this Pune plant capacity expansion. So you will see a lot of excitement from Hyundai in the next few years, and not only in terms of new segments, in terms of powertrains. In fact, in addition to the 6 electric vehicles, including upgrades that we have announced, we also announced entering into hybrids. We're already very strong in petrol, CNG, diesel, the entire EV ecosystem, whether it's a charging infrastructure, where we are going to have 600 DC fast chargers by 2032. The battery packs have already been localized. Going forward, we have tied up with an Indian local manufacturer for cell manufacturing. So we are very bullish about the Indian market. With the IPO listing, the responsibility increases. At the same time, the opportunities go up as well. So I think we are very excited, and this GST has come absolutely at the right time to really fuel the dreams, into reality.
Oh, well, indeed, Tarun, yes, of course, a lot of exciting factors at play. But let's talk about your export front as well, because you did share your India plans. But what about exports, because that too is, I believe, close to a 21% contributor right now, but you aim to take it higher to 30% by 2030. Which regions or models will drive this as per you, because you have so many exciting launches like 6 EVs that you just talked about?
Yes, yes. In fact, if you see April to August, our exports have grown by about 12.5%. And we have increased our impetus on exports. In fact, right from the time Hyundai set foot in India, exports has been a key driver for our sales. It gives us precious foreign exchange. We are the #1 exporter on a cumulative basis. Now, I would say it will become double engine, because exports anyway are growing very fast. Outside of Korea, we are the biggest hub for HMC, Hyundai Motor Company. We cater to the emerging markets, Middle East, Africa, Latin America, Asia, of course. You talked about 21% revenue coming in from exports. Yes, this year we are already at about 27% in Q1. I think so that the path is very clear. We already announced that by financial 30, we believe there is an upside now for increasing this to 30%, because once the capacity comes in, we will be at 1.1 billion. So it will take care of both the domestic as well as exports. The new models which we are launching in the domestic market are very apt, because the economies and the preferences of customers in these emerging markets are almost similar to that in India. So I think the opportunities will only go up, including the new powertrains and EVs as well.
Well, indeed, but Tarun, before we let you go on that, yes, of course, the festive season sales is expected to give a big boost. But what within the pockets of India are you expecting the demand to definitely drive the sales higher? Will it be from the urban areas, or will it be from the rural areas, where the growth number can be higher as per you?
Yeah, so Shrishti, I think this is a very important question. And if you see the last 2-3 years, whatever growth was coming primarily was from the rural areas. In fact, Hyundai's rural penetration increased from about 19% 3-4 years back to 23% now. But I believe very strongly that once an impetus like a GST cut happens, I think the urban customers, the sentiment goes up dramatically, and they also start coming in. It's only 3-4 days, so it's too early to stick your neck out and say, but based on my experience, I would say now it will be double engine there as well, rural as well as urban. So one is on the bottom of the pyramid, as the car penetration is 34 per thousand. So we will see the penetration going up. There's a huge opportunity there. More importantly, I would say the aspirations kicking in. Because anyway, customers know that how much they could pay. So they could, so that is not changing. But what is changing is, in the same price, they will be able to get a higher segment, they will be able to get more features, and their aspirations can be fulfilled. So to that extent, I believe that the less than 10 lakh rupees SUV segment could see a huge opportunity here, because that will take care of both the aspirations, affordability, safety, technology, connectivity, automatic, everything is taken care of. So I am really betting on that less than 10 lakh rupees segment SUVs, which will probably be a huge growth driver. Of course, in addition to, like I said, at the base of the pyramid, as well as all segments where customers are anyway moving to last few years.
But Tarun, so good having you on the channel today. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us, and wishing you all the best for the upcoming sales for the festive season.
Discounts are, of course, substantial, and of course the policy push now in the festive season trend as well. What are we looking at over there?
First of all, I think the GST cut is across all segments. Bigger cars also have got the 10% thing, so it is nothing to do with only with the small car. The bigger car, in fact, the absolute amount will be much bigger for the bigger cars than the smaller cars. Yes, I think it's a very good move. The challenge with the small car was affordability.
Correct.
And we feel the customers who wanted to upgrade from a two-wheeler to four-wheeler, this is an opportune time for them to come, because it's a very big price cut which is happening right now due to the GST to the tune of 8.5% for the small cars. So, and for the big car it is 3.5% because the GST is dropping, including the cess, from 45% to 40%.
Right. Another thing that I want to ask you, when we last met was, of course, at the launch of Vitoris. Now, how is that panned out so far? Is it also adding to what we're looking at in terms of the festive season here?
I think the response is very good.
Okay.
Within the first 48 hours of the launch, we have gotten more than 100 million viewers. Right now, please understand we have not yet announced the price for the new model.
Correct. Yes.
Which we are going to announce it before 22nd of September. Response is very good. The inquiries which we are receiving at our showrooms, very good.
You know, one thing I want to ask you about that is, given that product in terms of the lineup for Maruti, a product like that was missing. Was that the rationale behind launching Vittoris?
Yes, if you see, there was one segment of customers, the Gen Z customers, they are looking for a different experience, digital experience.
Well, yes, the excitement is all about autos, and from the sidelines of SIAM's 65th annual conclave, we have been joined by Nalinikan Gulakunda of M&M to talk more that what could be in store for M&M and the industry as well. Hi, very good afternoon, and thank you so much for your time. And yes, the excitement is all about GST. Because after the announcement, Nalinikan, Mahindra chose to pass on the GST cut benefits early to the customers, and that's ahead of your peers as well, and way ahead about that 22nd September deadline. Now, what drove that move? Was it purely competitive positioning, or was it to send a message to the market?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Firstly, thank you for having me on the show here. And like you said, GST reforms has been an important step for not just the industry, for the overall economy. And this is something the government was focused on benefiting the customer. And when we looked at the overall scheme, we saw that it actually has positive impact across our portfolio. Almost 60% of our portfolio, which are larger vehicles, we have a benefit from 48% or so coming down to 40%. And the rest of the portfolio, smaller vehicles, we have the benefit from 31, 28% all the way to 18%. So we felt that if the government is intent on passing this kind of benefit to the customers, why do we wait till festive? Why don't we get the excitement going ahead of time? And that's the reason why we announced it, that from 6th onwards, you could benefit. And so that the customer doesn't have to wait for getting the benefit overall. And it's been received very well. And we've had good traction in terms of walk-ins and inquiries at our showrooms.
Indeed, but Nalinikan, we do know about the high waiting periods for some of your most loved cars. But with respect to the dealer's interest, there's a compensation cess factor that is still remaining to be a challenge for them. But some experts do believe that this kind of a price cut that you have taken already and started adjusting your prices with respect to the GST cut, in a way, you will also participate in that, and you will also take that share. If you can help us understand how much of the price cut that has been announced before that 22nd September date, how much will you be absorbing that versus the dealers in order to liquidate the inventory which still has that compensation cess factor?
Yeah, firstly, on the waiting periods, over the last 12 months, we have actually significantly increased our production capacities for both the in-demand models on 3X on Thar Rock. So you'd be happy to note that actually the waiting periods have come down, and anybody who's looking for vehicles for festive period, they'll be able to get the vehicles as well across the portfolio. Now, coming to the cess issue, obviously it's a significant challenge for the entire industry, and the numbers thrown around 2,500 crores. So it could be higher than that, depending on how the retails happen till 22nd. It's an issue with the industry has taken up with the government, both from SIAM perspective as well as FADA perspective. And I'm aware that the government is looking at it closely. So we are hoping to see some kind of positive resolution from the government. From our end, what we have done is with the schemes we have put out so far, what we have announced till 22nd September, that should help our dealers at least start to clear some part of the inventory as well. So beyond that, hard to predict how the things will pan out. And like I said, we have made a representation of the government and waiting for some kind of direction from there.
All right, but along with that, after that price cut, we have already seen that excitement in some of these autos counters on stock market, and especially M&M. But what about the on-ground situation? What sort of a trend are you seeing in numbers of bookings, in terms of the footfall? Has there been a visible pickup across your model?
Yeah, again, it's very early to talk about retail and bookings itself, but what we have definitely seen is quite a bit of excitement in terms of walk-ins in our showrooms. Also in terms of inquiries, we're starting to see that. Now, again, it's very early to see how much of that would translate into actual festive bookings, but we are quite optimistic. We had put out a mid to high teens growth, volume growth for the year from M&M perspective, and we are hopeful and we are confident that we'll be able to meet these numbers thanks to the GST reforms as well.
Well, indeed, but Nalnikant, Mahindra is known and has a track record of setting the headline numbers on the day of launch days, the booking dates. So this time, are we looking for another record-breaking booking or delivery figure this festive season? Maybe even on the day, one of those days during Navratras or Dussehra or 22nd September itself?
Well, I'm waiting with bated breath as you are, so we'll see how the festive season plays out. But actually, even beyond the festive season, we have launches planned beyond that as well. So quite some excitement in store for the consumers for the rest of the year.
To us about the upcoming launches, which categories will it cater to and where do you see the excitement coming?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we have launches across both our ICE and EV portfolio. There are a couple of major launches coming up on the ICE later part of the year, and I followed up with a couple of ICE launches coming up as well. So again, these are products which have a lot of anticipation, and we feel that we have put together a very strong package together and excited to bring it to the market soon.
All right, but along with that, Nal, finally, when we have did discuss about all the factors with respect to the GST cut benefit and what could be in store for the customers, what are the other big levers that the Mahindra is working on, whether in terms of capacity, product pipeline or exports to keep the demand momentum strong in FY26? What are the plans there?
Yeah, one of the fundamental beliefs we have within the company is the customer excitement comes from the kind of portfolio you put out there. And as you know that we've always put out exciting products. 15th August, we put out the new IQ platform, which would be the underpinning for our next set of vehicles over the next 3 to 5 years. And as part of that, we are adding about 20,000 per month capacity to 40,000 per year within our Chakan factory as a brownfield. And beyond that, we are also scouting for locations on the greenfield location for the next wave of volume expansion to happen as well.
All right, Nalnikant, with this we let you go. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us.
Srishti Sharma spoke to Shenu Agarwal of Ashok Leyland on the sidelines of 65th SIAM annual convention on GST rate rationalization and their growth plans. Let's listen into that conversation.
I think it is going to be a big boost for our industry, and that will be on two different accounts. One, as you can imagine, the price is going down by 10%, and of course all the manufacturers will pass it on to the customers. So customer will have a direct benefit of that. That is one. But I think even bigger benefit for us, for our industry, beyond the price cut is that this is not just limited to our CV industry. This is going to touch every sector. This is going to touch every consumer in the country. And I think there would be a general boost in consumption. And when the consumption would have a boost, definitely the demand for freight will increase. And that is, I think, is the biggest factor that we are very positive about, because when the freight demand goes up, then that creates essentially a need for people to buy more trucks and buses.
All right, but along with that, Mr. Agarwal, the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor that has been commissioned and it's in the final leg. Along with that, even the Western one is expected to be commissioned. How would the Dedicated Freight Corridor can impact the freight and the truck demand? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it will definitely change the dynamics of our industry. I don't think it will have a major impact on the volumes as such, but I think it will change the logistics, the ecosystem of the logistics in a way, because some of this freight will be divided between now rails and trucks. So I think I also think that overall the India would need so many more trucks and buses, that these things really won't matter in a long term. When you compare the truck density or the bus density of India with that of China or any other country, any other developed nation, you would see that we are even less than half. So India has a huge potential for trucks and demands. I think the way our country is growing and the way consumption is growing, I think our truck and bus industry in the long run will have a very good prospect.
Well, indeed, but along with that, within the segments, which segment are you most bullish on? Is there anything in specific? Because I'm not sure about the commercial vehicle division right now, but some of the other segments are now seeing increased inquiries. Is that the case with Ashok Leyland as well? And along with that, how do you see the real demand panning out across the segment?
No, like I said, we are very encouraged by these GST reforms that have just happened. Like I said, this will not just cut the cost of the fleet operators, but also will trigger a lot of additional freight demand. In terms of specific segments, we believe tippers should do very well, because I think there is a great momentum in the construction and infrastructure industry, also in the mining segment. Also, we believe that tractor trailer is one segment which is going to do very, very well. In fact, some of the rigid truck market is also shifting to the tractor trailer side. So that is another reason that this particular segment is doing well. And the ICV segment actually has been doing also very well, because of the increase in the e-commerce in the last mile. So we think that most of the segments should do well, and buses we know are kind of doing extremely well for last 2-3 years, and we are still seeing a lot of new orders coming for buses.
All right. Yes, we know about Switch Mobility as well, how that company is doing. But with respect to one of the new ventures, wherein Ashok Leyland has entered in a long-term exclusive partnership with CALB Group of China and plans to invest in development and manufacturing of the new generation batteries. If you can firstly help us understand what's the rationale behind it, coming in with such agreement with Chinese company right now, and along with that, since you are really looking out to invest big in the next 7 years, how do you see the technology shift changing? Because don't you think it is too early to commit such investment for a long time?
Listen, when we think about developing this whole EV ecosystem in the country, there are two important things from an OEM perspective. One is that we have to be almost the best in when it comes to the alternative powertrain technology. Ashok Leyland has been working on this for last 1 decade now. We have technologies available now, not just for EV, but also for CNG, LNG, and hydrogen. So next step for companies like us would be to really invest in the supply chain. Now, when it comes to supply chain, about 40 to 50% of the cost is coming from the battery pack itself, right? And therefore, if we have to reduce our dependence on imports, if we have to make it more resilient, if we have to create innovation around batteries, if we have to have our own capabilities in designing the future batteries, that could be a very major